Hi, Fragrance Nation. Today is another beautiful opportunity for us to discuss some hot takes on the state of the fragrance nation in the world. Let's get this party started.
Welcome to the show. Grab a seat, take it slow. You tune just in time to join the flow. Welcome to the hype where scenes come alive, where knowledge and laughter find side by side. Perfume Nation is the place where we dive, exploring the scents and the stories they drive. We're glad that you came, just jump in the game, where we unveil secrets behind fragrance's fame. Welcome to Perfume Nation, we're glad you are here. Join our journey, lend us your ear. So let's start the show, give us a cheer. Welcome to Perfume Nation, we're glad you are here.
So, I've been thinking, after that wonderful Khalees Becker's presentation on Last Exans, she's a saint, I swear to God. I feel that woman has been through a lot. She raised a really important point that I'm not sure if it really landed with the audience, but also Exans gets so busy and people are running around and it's kind of almost overwhelmingly social. So I don't know if the more philosophical and strategic discussions are somehow lost in the delightful fuzzy mess that this event becomes. So the question that she posed and the project that she clearly is very passionate about is the following: who is a perfumer? What is this? Is that some kind of IP type of maker? Is that an artist? Is that an author? Or is that just purely a skill-based craft position that you just know how to execute a particular set of duties? And ever since she became a president, she was elected to be a president of, gosh, I forget the name of it. It's like High Society of Perfumers. It's a global community that the first of its kind, as far as I'm aware. They realized that despite perfumes, the perfume industry being the shining gem on the French crown, it's truly one of the most valuable one of the most known valuable contributions that France has made and is making to the world at large and to our civilization, that oddly enough, even in France, the perfume doesn't really exist as a category or a well-defined profession. So she started collecting data, opinions, historical precedences in her team, trying to, I wouldn't say unionize, but at least bring out of the woods and out of these rather toxic mystique the perfumer's profession as a well-scoped, recognized, and potentially regulated type of activity. And there are really good reasons to do so. First and foremost, perfumers, when they're not categorized as any particular profession, they have no rights. Like, we all know what unbound capitalism leads to. Like, look at the mass layoffs that are happening in the United States. They come and go in waves, but like right now they're happening in the tech industry that I know very intimately. And it's pretty much, there's no stopping it because there's no regulation. The large corporations can do whatever they want to. And that can create a huge recession if, let's say, if third, if not half of middle class becomes jobless. Anyway, so perfumers were abused by the corporate fragrance, chemical related flavor industry for the longest time ever. And only in, I would say, the end of 20th century and more so 21st century, when thanks to marketing and kind of more globalized and connected world, perfumers started clawing out their piece of the pie. They are no longer nameless, faceless noses that were just cribbed in those labs, industrial labs that are ugly, that like everything is it's like a factory, really considered to be like a factory worker, and to the front stage talking about their creations, still largely an exception for a perfumer who made a perfume to be allowed to talk about it. Do you understand like just how rightless they are? And we only know the master perfumers. Those are essentially, you would say, a master perfumer is pretty much a professor in academia. So those people have done volume of work. They have their own labs, essentially, with the perfumers who work for them. And they are more like defining a vision. They may or may not be involved in the actual making of the perfume, but they're always involved with kind of vision and the strategy and the final say. But they often have teams of people who actually work on the execution parts of things. So, and that even, we don't know even all of them, we only know some. And that, again, internet, sites like Aromamania, Fragrantica, there was back in the day LiveJournal, and there were independent blogs, there was MySpace. The proliferation of online discussion and discourse, actually the people who loved and consumed perfumes, they are the ones who broke into the Bastille of perfumery and started digging out piece by piece, drop by drop, the information of who makes them, how it's made, and what's really going on. We only discovered that there's process of a brief. There are these big 5, big 10 chemical corporations that control nearly all of the perfume ingredients that exist. So without them, nobody can make any perfumes because you don't have any ingredients to make them with. So all of that slowly started seeping out thanks to the internet and to people who loved perfumes and were not necessarily involved in a professional capacity in that. So being nameless, having no negotiation rights, having your career largely depend on administrative executives rather than any merit of the work that you've done necessarily, this is a problem, right? This is a problem. Another problem that is just constantly haunting our community is reformulations. There are 1,000 reasons why a perfume get reformulated. However, and that's something that I really want to discuss here, Becker claims that according to what she knows, the data that she acquired with her team, the perfumers fall the most naturally into the category of authors. So they're not artists, because according to the definition of an artist, maybe it's a French thing, I'm not sure, but it makes sense logically. So I presume it's probably similar everywhere. An artist, artwork, there is an implication or an assumption there that it cannot be replicated. So if your artwork can be mass produced, it's not a work of art, but you're an author of an IP, an intellectual property. So the perfumers therefore are more like book writers and musicians, songwriters, and that makes a lot of sense. I thought about, I was like, yeah, that kind of like, it does make sense. And essentially all of the corporate structures it's like a publishing or recording company. The perfumer signs a contract and they kind of provide them with the resources to create, and they do. But unfortunately, the distribution rights, the revenue sharing, and all of that stuff is rather questionable for this type of authorship. I'm pretty sure perfumers get like 0% sales, like royalties from the perfume sales. I think they just work for a salary, which, if you start thinking about them authoring creative products, that just sounds wrong, doesn't it? Doesn't it? It does. That said, I struggle to imagine a book author whose publishing company would rewrite their books willy-nilly without even asking them for permission, or rewrite their songs without asking them for permission, or just still calling that song. It's just not a thing. But perfume reformulations are ubiquitous. Flanker, I mean, I can see that it's like a remix, like fine, I guess, right? Like Becker herself was hired to create J'adore Dior. And now that Francis Crook-John is the artistic director of Dior, he came up with his own flanker for J'adore Dior. And J'adore Dior is like a great example. And my friend Bogdan actually was the first one to ask that question. It's like, well, it's all great, but J'adore Dior is unrecognizable now. So how do we deal with that? I mean, how do we deal with, unspoken reformulations that big corporations often even lie about, that they didn't do it and they did? Like, we have noses, like collectively everybody cannot be wrong. But then what about the authorship aspect of it? If it doesn't even smell like J'adore Dior 10, 20 years later, is it still J'adore Dior? Is Kenneth Becker still the author of that perfume if its scent changed a lot? That's where I really I can't make my mind about it. Like, it doesn't happen with books, and it doesn't happen with songs. So then how do we treat that? Should we then consider, like, if perfumer does become a profession that recognizes the author of IP, I don't think corporate execs will ever let it to happen. They will never share a profit share with perfumers, and they will never agree to then give them leverage and say in what happens with the IP. And then if perfumer leaves, just like Kenneth Becker, she's no longer working, as far as I know. I don't think she ever worked exclusively with Dior, but I think she's not involved in the J'adore Dior line. Let's just say that, right? So if she leaves, is she allowed to reproduce her formula, which you can imagine just notes in a song? Is she allowed to reproduce them because she's the author? Like, yeah, so the Dior can keep making and selling it, but is she legally allowed, because it's her IP, it's her creation, she's an author of that book, she's an author of that song, so can she sing it to somebody else? This conundrum kind of trips me a bit. I can't quite figure out how to reason around this concept. And it is important. It is, because for us as consumers, if we don't know who made the very thing we love, who made the wonder happen, obviously there's technology involved, there's marketing involved, there's a lot of people involved, and the packaging is very important in its design, sure. But it's still about how it smells. It's experiential. And if we're, as a consumer, as people who explore scents and explore ourselves and form memories through scents, have no connection to the author, an author has no control over the creation, like, what kind of fucked up world is that? Like, I just can't quite find a cohesive, mutually beneficial solution here. Like, and that's what brings me to my fear that it's a great idea. Like, Madame Becker, I'm all with you. But I don't think she'll be allowed to do it. Because the implications, if you're a recognized author of a work of art or a creative product of an IP, then it poses so many far-fetching questions that I'm afraid the teethy machinery of largest corporations in the world will just stop it in its tracks. At the same time, there is no stopping of information flow anymore. It's pretty much fruitless endeavor to hide these things. So unless you can make it popular not to know what perfumes are made of and who made them, and you just make it this like nameless commodity, oh, that smells cute, that smells nice, and like it's a fair share of people who consume scents this way. They don't care. It smells like sweet coconut, great, like whatever. You don't even, like, some people don't even remember the names of the things that they wear, scent wise. It's a thing, and if it becomes the norm, then yes, things can just stay like they are. But I feel like in the open information domain, we live in a world of streaming, of constant social media launches, discussions. It seems that things would become they would be forced to become more open. And therefore, maybe that by itself will prevent kind of closing the doors on perfumers again. What do you think? It fascinates me as a topic, because I think like so much depends on the future of these few. I don't know how many perfumers, qualified perfumers with degrees who are working in those labs exist. 10,000, if that much. I guess if we add all the enthusiasts and the craft perfume industry and an aroma, well, I don't want to add aromatherapy to it. Like anybody can mix 5 essential oils in their kitchen. But like, listen, like expand, like add the more niche communities into the mix. We're talking about probably, I don't know, how many do you think? 100,000 people who are involved into the chemistry of olfactory design. Depending on how these people are treated, that kind of defines the future of what we will think the perfumes are and the role that they play in our life. Like, you can't claim that something is an art if it's produced by the nameless, faceless machine, right? Well, again, it kind of like raises this whole host of questions that people are now asking about AI. But you don't necessarily need AI to make something faceless, nameless, and kind of factory-like. We already have that. Are we happy? That's the question. Are we happy with discussing fruity lychees, milky pistachios, and creamy sandalwoods, conveniently forgetting what is beneath that first impression, that first delight, which is absolutely valid, and that's what gets people interested in perfumes to begin with. But like, is it enough? That's the question. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. I hope you're doing well. I'll be waiting for your comments. If you like what you see, please support this channel. I'll leave a bunch of useful and helpful links below for you. Thank you so much for watching. Click on that like. That'll be very helpful. Subscribe if you haven't had a chance yet. I have a ton of educational, fun, flirty, entertaining, deeper kind of let's chat type of content on this channel, so there is a lot for you to binge on if you wish to do so. I'll see you in the next video.
Hey there, you reached the end, but don't just depart. Hit like, subscribe, it's a way to take part. You support your love, it's an art. Like and subscribe, be the vibe, keep us alive. In this changing, you'll see it's how we ride. It's more than a click, it's a bridge, a connection. Each donation, a show of affection. We're So here's a call to one and all. Stand with us, answer the call. Let's make some waves and stand tall, yeah.